Welcome. Hola, what's good? Hey, y'all, hey. You are tuned in to Circle Up with your girl and main host, Amanda Hurd. Y'all, we are super excited about this episode right here. This episode is titled Shift. Stop hesitating in fiction thoughts and start healing now. Don't you hate being in that place where your thoughts seem to be a little bit louder than your reality? Example, you see someone staring at you from across the room, and all you can think about are your flaws. Or maybe you've been consistently working on a particular thing, and then you come face to face with it, and you seem to fail at it once again. Or here's a big one. What about when your mind won't allow you to be at peace due to anxiety and depression, always playing tug of war with acceptance and love? This episode is prepared to push you forward. This episode will challenge you to shift your mindset. It's designed for you to stop stalling in those empty shadows and to move forward in who you are. So wait no more. Grab your drinks, snacks, and chairs, and let's get ready to circle up. The mind is a beautiful thing. It has a massive amount of space and it locks in the most unimaginable memories. Sometimes I like to just lay in the bed and think about when I was younger. I like to go back as far as I could and I like to just remember the moment. Sometimes as I'm laying there, I can replay the laughter in my ears. I can replay the feeling of the sun that day, the particular time that I'm thinking about. The mind is so amazing. I've asked a couple of people, what's the youngest age that you can remember something? And I've heard people say as young as 2 years old, they were able to think back on and remember something that happened to them. I'm like, wow, that amazes me because I don't think that I can think that far back, but hey, if it's out there, then it's out there. The mind can be our safe place as well as our danger zone. See, the same way I'm able to lay in the bed and think about those happy moments is the same way that somebody can rest or dwell in a place of frustration and of anger, of things that can't build them up but only pull them down. A danger zone, a place that, if you dwell there too much, if you stay in that hurt zone too much, then it begins to tear down who you are and snatch you away from your purpose instead of gradually lifting you up or pushing you towards your purpose. You see, our minds capture all of our life's biggest dreams and desires. It holds our deepest secrets and wildest fantasies. We must understand that the mind is one of our biggest battlefields. This is the place where our insecurities run free and our perception teams up with the things that the naked eye or emotion feeds it. We are warned many times in life to be mindful of what we allow ourselves to take in. You see, it's extremely hard not to act out or believe in what we allow to consume our minds. When I was a little girl, I used to watch a lot of cartoons and a lot of movies. And I remember this one movie in particular. It was called The Princess. No, not The Princess and the Frog. What was I going with that? It was called The Princess and the Goblins. And in this movie, there's a scene where the princess is going through the forest and these goblins come out. And I remember the weight of fear that would jump on me whenever the princess would be running through those woods. I just knew that one good night those goblins was going to jump out and grab hold of me. And you see, it's because I watched this movie over and over and over and over again that I really believed that those goblins were a thing and that those goblins really existed and that they were out and after me. You see, I filled myself up with things that kept me fearful. So it seems like I acted out on that fear every time the night would come. I also found myself watching things that made me believe I was a superhero. And so there was many times that I would find myself running around the room with my cousins or running around the house. In my mind, I'm flying around. In my mind, I'm zapping and zooming and beeping and diving and doing, I'm doing all of these things that I've seen happen on the TV. But because I filled myself up with these things, these are the things that I believed were so. There was nothing in me that made me believe that I couldn't do or I wasn't what I was acting out. We are told to be careful in the way that we think because it is our thoughts that make the very people that we are. When we think we're crazy, we begin to act crazy. When we think we're all that in a bag of chips and looking good and fly and fine, that's how we act. No matter the pattern that we begin to think, with that very same pattern is the pattern that we will begin to walk out. I used to be a really big overthinker. And I thought that being an overthinker was odd. I never wanted to admit it because it made me feel shame. I feel like every time you let somebody in on that, every time you tell somebody, hey, I'm an overthinker, or you're in conversation or you're like, yeah, I'm an overthinker. I feel like people begin to shape the way they talk to you, or they begin to treat you a little bit different. Like they won't say certain things around you, or won't, tell you certain things because they take into consideration that, oh, you're just going to think too much about it. And so because of that, it's something that kind of kept me keeping that to myself. It's not like anything was wrong with me. It was just the fact that what you said had to have a deeper meaning to it in my mind. I always found myself repeating embarrassing moments in my head over and over again. I had trouble sleeping because my brain, it just wouldn't shut off. I spent so much time thinking about the hidden meaning behind the things that people said or certain events that happened. And I continuously dwelled in my mistakes and spent so much time worrying about things that I had absolutely no control over. But I've learned something, that after talking to a bunch of people, there's so many people out there who are overthinkers. There was nothing to be shameful of. It's almost more common than those who don't. But the most frustrating thing about overthinking is all the things that are attached to it. Overthinking comes with its problems of its own, and one of the problems that tends to stick out a whole lot more than the others is the problem that interferes with problem solving. You see, when you're an overthinker, it causes you to dwell on the problem rather than looking for a solution. This is how our reality can become blurry and our thoughts become loud. Things seem to look to be something that they are far from. Situations look way worse than they really are. Because you're always dissecting something. You're always taking time to unfold or unravel something that was never meant to be so. This is a lot of times how failure interferes and takes hold of our lives, because it tries its best to keep us down. It holds our mind captive on the thought of failing instead of reaching that place of how to get back up. We normally stay at that place of thinking about how hard the fall was instead of looking for that space that allows us to think about how easy the stand up can be. This is normally the place where anxiety and depression decides to creep in. See, as we remain lost in the thought of a false reality, we become trapped. When we allow ourselves to continually think on the things that can't help us move forward, we begin to move backwards. This is why it is so intense that we are mindful of the things that we allow to fill our mind. Because if, or more so when, we get to that place where we are backed up in the corner facing defeat, in our minds, we will need a way of escape. And if all we have are thoughts of stress and worry, then the fight back will be void. We can't beat defeat with defeat. It's like in rock, paper, scissors. Rock can't beat rock. Paper doesn't beat paper. You see, two of the same work together, not against. So it's so important that we feed our minds with positive fuel. This reminds me of the time when I experienced a loss of hope. When I lost hope, y'all, it was one of the saddest moments of my life. When I lost hope, I loosened my grip on truth, and soon after that, truth was nowhere to be found. What do I mean by that? When I had nothing to put my mind on that would give me a push into purpose or into just life alone. It was like I slowly began to lose the truth of who I was. I slowly began to lose the truth of, who the whole purpose of my being. And the more or more so longer I stayed in that place, I started to believe lies that began to fill my head up. It seemed as if I lived in the shadows of the night. Literally everything light was so close to me, yet so far away. Day in and day out, it was like hurt, pain, and suffering followed me. Disappointment, shame, and anger kept me. People always arguing and fighting surrounded me, while all along, loneliness, defeat, and felt like death hunted for me. These things really began to shape my mind in such a way that it created this battlefield. You see, every day I had to answer to the thoughts that held me hostage. They would remind me of a false worth, stating that I was absolutely nothing. These thoughts forced lies to take root inside of me. And when they took root, it manifested as my truth. And this place is where I was exposed to the wickedness of the dark. Things were sent to me that were supposed to make me feel better, when in reality, it was only numbing me. And then it was numbing me for only a short period of time. I found myself crawling back, looking for more. But it was like the more that I found, it was the more that I lost. I began to lose more and more as the lies took root in me. And because of that, depression was able to walk right in. Everywhere I went, I viewed everything through the experience that I was going through. I would be looking for an escape, but I was fighting back with the tools that worked with instead of against. The loudest thought I would hear in my head would be the thought that I pretty much went with. So no matter what was actually happening in reality, if my mind didn't agree with it, then it wasn't so. People may ask, well, Dad, girl, where were your friends? Where were your family? Like, where was your support team? Oh, they were there. They were. And they tried to pull me out of that dark space. But because the percentage of those that I chose to be with was larger than those that were trying to pull me out, and don't get me wrong, because it doesn't take many to get you out of that place. It doesn't take an army of people to pull you out of that place. But it was that and the fact that I was sold to the thoughts that made me believe nothing was wrong that I didn't leave. You see, every time opportunity of shift came my way, I would find myself in this defensive mode, believing that I was all good. And when the time was right for me to move, or the time was right for me to do something new or take a change in my life, then I would do it. But see, in that place, I never understood that time keeps going. And I would never get the opportunity to get that time back again. I never understood that that was my exit and my healing was one shift away. I never tapped into that power that was already placed within me, that would give me the push that I needed in order to move forward. I was so trapped in this mindset of defeat, of confusion, that clarity was almost impossible. But you see, at that place, I learned a few things. In that place, I learned a few things. I've always heard that the mind was powerful, but in that place, I learned that to be so. I've experienced much of its truth. And there's a few sayings along the way that I've also grabbed hold to. Like, I've learned if you put your mind to it, then you can do it. What do I mean by that? When something is embedded into your mind, it becomes your focus. And when you are locked into your focus, your drive to succeed it will be pushed. I've learned that your thoughts are the seeds that you plant. This is another reason why we want to be careful and what we allow to fill our mind. Because once that seed is planted, trust and believe the nourishment will find its way. Meaning the things that your emotion feeds it through the tube of life's experience will make that seed grow. So I say again, I can't stress enough, be very mindful of what you allow to take in. Be very mindful of what you listen to 90% of the day, what you watch 90% of the night. These things aren't just things that we're taking in and letting out. These are things that we're taking in and holding on to, and one day soon will be walking out in. I found a few key tools that has helped me build a strong foundation for my mind, and I'm here to share them with you. We are to speak life even in the dark, meaning speak positive feedback no matter what the situation is saying, no matter what the situation is, leaving no room for lies. Sometimes it's going to seem crazy, and most times you will feel wrong. But when we choose to speak against the situation, then that shows that we're leaning on hope. And it's with hope that we will see the brighter side. I've learned to watch my company, meaning surround yourself with strong-minded friends, people that are uplifting and encouraging, those that are rooted in hope, continuously seeking visions and goals. But in this, don't shut the others out. Because we are to be an example. We are to be a light for those. And the same way that in this place we seek for a light, there's others that are in that place and you may be their light. Do what makes you whole instead of what makes you happy. See, people told me in that space that I need to be happy, do happy things, let's hang out, let's do this, let's do that, these things that made me happy. But I learned that happiness is only for a moment. I learned that happiness is temporary. I learned that happiness can fool you. It fools you into numbing yourself instead of healing yourself. The key is to find joy And that can only be found in being whole, which comes through Christ. Listen, if nothing less, believe in yourself. Don't wait for others to approve you. Don't wait for others to tell you that you can do it, tell you that you got it, tell you that, you have everything that it takes. Don't wait for somebody to approve you. You'll be waiting a lifetime. Know that whatever you take in is what you're going to put out. So take in focus, take in strength and prosperity, take in the truth of who you are. Know that you are loved, desired, and wanted. Know that you can, you are, and you will. Understand that your strength is strong. And know that nothing can break you. Peace belongs to you. Choose to believe that you hold a power that is deeper than within the mind, but that is deep within your soul. When the mind is open and roaming, allowing all kinds of signals of defeat to move in, know that you have the authority to evict them. You can override these problems by choosing to put them in their place, not allowing them to have control over your life. Allow yourself to win. You see, although the battle takes place in your mind, understand that's not where it starts. Move into the mindset that cancels lies. It's time to shift. It's time to stop hesitating in those shadows of false thoughts and shift into your place of healing. It's time to put away with the lies that try to control your life. Expose them for what they are. It's time to grab hold of the truth of who you are. Know that you can. You can do all things through Him who strengthens us. Fear not. Know that the Lord is with you. Be not dismayed. Know that He will provide strength and help just for you. And finally, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, my listeners, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. I encourage us to take on the challenge to shift our mind. Let's stop covering ourselves up in shame and guilt. Let's take on the challenge to start healing now. Start healing by believing the truth of what God says about us. Let's reach out for liberty. Let's stand on faith and reach out by using that power from within to push us through our breakthrough. It's time to shift. We would like to thank you again for tuning in to Circle Up with Amanda Hurd. I hope this message was able to reach someone in a place that would encourage them to shift their mindset from lost to found, from defeat to conquer, from struggle to release. If you are that someone who decided to take on the challenge to shift your mindset, but you may need help with discovering what God says about you, then feel free to reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram message at circleup_AH, or you can directly email us at circleup.ah@gmail.com. Be blessed.